Well, more lizard manipulation by the lizard people for silver today. Yes, it's good enough conspiracy as any, because anytime the silver goes down, it's manipulation. It does seem to be that way, though. The markets have went up. And, normally I point out that when commodities all go down, silver goes down. But silver took a big hit today, and like the base metals, some of them were up, some of them were down a little bit. But mostly it was really on silver, which is kind of peculiar. Oil was up. The other precious metals weren't down as much. Some of the base metals were up, but just take a quick look at that, and the Dow was up. So it's going to be a long climb uphill for silver. And, I do think the lizard people are manipulating it. I think there's aliens in these lizard people that are controlling J.P. Morgan that are... Yeah, I know. Well, you know what? I don't know. And anybody that says there's manipulation really can't prove it. Because if we could prove it, hey, we just go get them, man. That's what we do. We get them. We'd find out who the hell they are and get them. Trouble is, we really don't know, and anybody even makes a conjecture on it, they don't know either. But, the obvious fact is people are still buying physical silver, and you should too, if you don't have any. I mean, if you're already heavily invested in physical silver, you don't need to keep buying on every single dip. I mean, that's not the smartest thing in the world to do. There's other things to invest in, like bicycles and other, coconut oil, aloe vera. There's other things you want to stockpile besides silver. But it's going to be a long upward climb uphill for your silver, and before it finally does reach the peak. But I'm going to point out a couple other things that might be a little bit interesting. Hey, what do you think is going to happen when we have QE5? What do you think? This is what my thought is on it. The Federal Reserve begins buying stocks, goes out and they already do that, but they're going to actually openly do that to prop up the stock market. Because let me just think ahead. This is kind of a guess, but I bet you it's legit. Because, a lot of times I guessed that stuff years ago, and it was right. Better than Peter Schiff. Actually, much better than him. But let me just take a guess here, because, Mark Faber, somebody I can really rely on, says that the markets, the equities, will go down. Not because of, the fiscal cliff, not because of problems in Europe, but because earnings are going to look piss poor. So... I already know they got the plunge protection team that goes in there, but what about the Federal Reserve going in there directly as like a part of QE, just buying up stocks? Why not? Why not? I bet you that happens. But hey, I don't know. It's like anything else. It's like, chill out, ride a bicycle, eat a ice cream cone. The world's not going to fall apart that fast. And these dumbasses that are so smart, they're going to outsmart themselves. I want to make a couple comments about these psychiatrists and the gun control deal, because before I get on with the silver some more. I knew this. I knew this before, and I was saying it, that they're going to use the healthcare system, especially the psychiatric system, to use gun control, and that's how they're going to control the population. Like if you look at those codes the psychiatrists have, I have a video on that. They got dozens of codes out there that say not otherwise specified or unspecified. They just look at you, even if they had empirical evidence. If they don't know what it is, well, they got a number code. They could say not otherwise specified, but you're crazy. I mean, I'm putting a very layman's term on that, but they could say you're bipolar, not otherwise specified, have this problem, not otherwise specified, without actually pinpointing stuff. That's how lame that science is. And then they'll give you drugs. Now, I'm going to give you a very true story. There's somebody I know died recently, like 3 days ago. This is true. 47 years old. His wife, which I'm glad I don't have one of those enemies, told him to go to the psychiatrist because she thought he was crazy and all this. You got problems and all this shit. So the psych gave him some pills. Then he died. Smart. Actually, these psychologists and psychiatrists, it's actually the psychiatrists that put out the medicine, I know that, they're going to kill the economy because as it is already, most of the freaking population in the United States are a bunch of brain-dead zombies from all these freaking prescription meds, that it has affected productivity and innovation, which has been the hallmark of the U.S. economy. The psychiatric profession is killing the economy. Not only are you going to use the psychiatric profession to kill your right to protect yourself, but they are killing the economy while they're lining their pockets. I'm going to really harp on these son of a bitches forever and ever and ever. You're going to see a million videos on these jerks. I don't know if I'm going to get any hits on them, but I'm going to throw more and more angles on these bastards until we see them as the really rotten people, that the narcissistic people that they are. They're devils. Anyway, getting back to the silver market, yeah, I know it took a major hit. It's down 2.5% percentage-wise. Let's not look at the cents. You know, if it was down 80 cents from $150 an ounce, I wouldn't mind, but being down 80 cents from $32 is not good. So, but you know, it's actually hitting a hard resistance point here, because a little bit below 31, it's getting into a hard resistance point. A little bit below 31 has a lot of resistance, like in the 30 range. And I don't know if it's going to go down that far, but you know, a lot of times the markets are tricky. You might see a total turnaround. Actually, if I was to bet on, if it goes down a little bit more, I'm probably going to put some, you know, the electronic money into silver and see if it springs back up. That's what I would do, to tell you the truth, and just make a quick sale if it gets some kind of gain. But looking at the base metals actually are looking fairly good. Copper doesn't look too bad. Nickel, you know, copper's down a little bit, nickel's up a little bit, aluminum's down a little bit, but nothing's like changed that much like silver. You know, you're talking less than a half a percentage point going up and down on the base metals. But silver, yeah, and you know, considering that crude oil is up, Dow's up, and silver just got knocked down like that, yeah, I'd actually say it's the alien lizard people from J.P. Morgan doing something. I don't know. I really can't say what they're doing, though. That's the thing. Because if I knew who was doing it, I'd fix it. Me. I would. I would fix it right now. I wouldn't talk about it. I wouldn't make a freaking video about it. I'd fix it. Big difference. But I don't know. I don't know what the hell's going on. You know, people point out all this bullshit about the sky's falling, and they never get specifics. And if you listen to people like David Icke, he'll tell you the lizard people are doing everything. So, hey, the lizard people are doing everything. There you go. But yeah, I do have to agree. There does seem to be some type of manipulation on silver. You know, that's just a theory. I know it's a conspiracy theory. I'm not throwing out any hard facts that much, but considering the amount of people that are buying the coins, the amount of people that are moving into the ETFs, the fact that it's such an essential commodity that's used by so many people throughout the world and has almost as many uses as crude oil, the only one that has a commodity out there that uses more in more different areas than silver is crude oil, and the mines aren't even making enough money. That's why their stock price is depressed. Yeah, I say it is being manipulated. I don't know how, though, and I don't know exactly who's doing it. You could say the U.S. government, but who the hell is that? I mean, really. But I'm going to say one thing. Actually, to protect your money in the long run is probably something like what Jim Rogers says, agriculture. And I'm going to recommend the one plant, marijuana and hemp. That's going to protect your money more than anything. I think in the future, as the entire you know, if there is an entire collapse, nobody's going to give a shit about anything except food, medicine, and fuel. And marijuana and hemp provide all of that. Silver actually doesn't provide all of that. So that may be your way out of the big mess right now. But I'm sticking with silver all the way. I think there's going to be a surprise in 2013. And I thought there was going to be a surprise in 2012, but it's actually still, you got to remember, it's still not as bad as like some people thought, because a lot of people were thinking it was going down to 15, 18, 21, 22, and all this kind of crap. It's still solidly above 30. So, and looking at the long-range scheme of things, you know, it was only a dozen years ago, it was down to $4. So it's got a long upward climb hill, but, you know, we're in a pace. We're in a nice steady rhythm. and we're cruising up this hill, and when we get to the pinnacle, it's going to be up in the 3 digits, and that's probably where it's going to wind up being, about maybe $100 an ounce, unless there's a big collapse. But I actually want to even add something on with that, because we know that the dollar can't really survive in its present form, but we figure they're gonna default on a debt, correct? Well, when they default on a debt, basically, I pointed out when you default on any debt, actually that becomes income to yourself. In other words, if you told the bank, screw you, I ain't paying you guys back, and they have absolutely no recourse to go after any of your assets, just guess what? If you had that on your books as a loan, that comes off your balance sheet and goes on your income statement as income. You're going to make an entry for that. So that's exactly what's going to happen with the United States when they default on a debt. The only problem is it's probably going to lead to war. But if the U.S. wins that war with whoever holds our debt, like China, guess what? They're back in the driver's seat again, all the way. But still, silver's going to keep going up. The trend is in place. And yeah, I think there's lizard manipulation going on, but, that just means there's more physical buying going on. Like the old story goes, the game is going to be up at one point in time. It's definitely going to be up at one point in time. And it looks like things are getting closer to that point.